Today we're going to talk about Aaron's staff or rod placed in the Ark of the Testimony. So let's set the scene. The people of Israel were in exile in Egypt, and they were going to be delivered by the Lord. The Exodus started in the month of Abib, roughly the month of April in our understanding. They celebrated the Passover and left Egypt. Moses and Aaron went before the people of Israel with the almond branch or staff in their hands. This is the same famous staff of Aaron which was used to strike the waters of the Nile and turn it into blood. On the travels through the wilderness, everything did not seem so easy. The people grumbled and grumbled. A good example was the rebellion of Korah and cohorts. In Numbers 16, in a nutshell, Korah and the other approximately 250 men who were from the tribe of Levi, leaders of the community, representatives in the assembly, rebelled against Moses, saying, "Who do you think you are to lead us? You have gone far enough, for all the congregation is holy, every one of them, and the Lord is in their midst. So why do you exalt yourself above the assembly of the Lord? Why have you appointed yourself as ruler over us?" They rose up against the man of God. Moses heard this. He fell on his face, and he spoke to Korah and all his group, saying, "Tomorrow morning the Lord will make known who is his and who is holy, and will bring that one near to himself. Indeed, the one whom he will choose, he will bring near to himself." They took fire pans and offered incense before the Lord. This part of the narrative ends with the opening of the earth underneath Korah and the others and swallowed them up. The people continued to grumble, blaming Moses for the death of Korah and his household, which resulted in a plague where 14,600 people were killed. The power struggle was settled. But to know who God's anointed or set asides were was decided by God, who led the staff, the rod of Aaron, the chosen tribe which was placed on the ground in the holy place before the testimony, to blossom as a testimony. The rod of Aaron of the house of Levi had sprouted and put forth buds. It had produced blossoms and yielded ripe almonds. So let's have a look at this almond branch. The almond tree is known as the first fruit tree to awaken from its wintry slumber, a resurrection after the winter, death. Hebrew word for almond tree is shakadei, meaning to be alert, sleepless, hence to be on the lookout. Can also be translated as hasten or remain, wake or watch. In English we can say the almond tree is the alert, sleepless, watchful, on the lookout tree. Almonds are considered stone fruits, like peach, nectarines, etc., but not nuts. They are listed in the Bible among the choice fruits. It's in Genesis 43, verse 11. Several Bible accounts deal with the almond tree. Think of Jacob at Bethel, making an altar to the Lord, calling it El Bethel, because there God appeared to him as a fled from his brother Esau. Again, Jacob setting an almond branch in the water channel before the flock of the sheep, so they would drink and conceive. Branches are actually changing according to the season. After dormancy, after sleeping, the tree awakens after the winter in the northern hemisphere. This will be in the end of January, February. A command to prepare for blossoming. The tree begins to arouse from its slumber. The green calyx tip appears at the end of the bud. The bud begins to dilate. The almond tree awakens and clothes itself with light pink blossoms. That turns white as snow before falling to the ground 5 to 14 days later, after bursting forth. Bees delivering pollen to the blossoms. The first fruit of the almond begin to emerge from the calyx, resembling a flame of fire, and hastily grows to be the potential size over the course of 6 to 8 weeks, at which time the first fruit may be handpicked or left on the tree to mature. Summer heat then causes the fruit to split open. The flesh withers in the heat and the seed inside is revealed. Harvesters carry the seeds and bring them to a location where they separate the hull or the husk from the shell. Over several weeks, the leaves from the tree begin to fall to the ground, and the tree enters into a period of rest. Aaron's staff resurrected into a budding and blossoming almond tree, even yielding ripened almonds. Think about that. So, but what about us? Where does that all fit in with us? Can Jesus be like an almond tree? Awakens to his real calling, Jesus increased in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and with people, it says in the Bible, throughout his life, which comes to a climax at the 14th day of Abib or Nisan, when the Passover was celebrated and Jesus became our Passover lamb. He died and after 3 days rose from the dead. He presented himself as the first fruit to the Father after the resurrection from the dead and of the dead. The fruit began to emerge from the calyx, the tomb. This shows us that Jesus did not lie when he says, I am the resurrection and the life. As in John 11, it states when Jesus has a conversation with Martha concerning the resurrection of her brother Lazarus. Martha more or less said to Jesus in verse 26, yes, I believe in the resurrection on the last day. But Jesus put it into perspective of the now and not only the future. He added, the one who believes in me, even if he dies, will live. Everyone who lives and believes in me will never die, ever. He promised a harvest of the resurrection to follow. We are partakers in the resurrection of Christ, Christ being the firstborn from the dead and of the dead. We are co-raised with Christ in the resurrection from the dead, yet still await our physical resurrection as part of the general resurrection of the dead. 6 to 8 weeks after Passover, we celebrate Pentecost, where we've seen the flames of fire starting with the 12 disciples, showing and explaining that the Spirit was poured out on all flesh. The pouring out on all flesh is the result of the first fruit harvest, Jesus. Around 7 weeks following pollination, the fruit of the almond tree reaches its potential size, while the inner core remains soft and gelatinous. During this first stage of the growth, a few of these first fruits are chosen and handpicked so that the remaining fruit are not disturbed and may remain on the branches. This is the first of 2 harvests for the almond tree. A harvest of first fruits. This harvest of first fruits is common in the Middle East. In the 7th month, called Tishri, the second harvest time of the almond takes place. This goes alongside the Jewish celebration of the Feast of Ingathering or Feast of Tabernacles. Let us be like the almond tree, awakened to the truth of the real gospel. Love for all people, unconditional. Salvation attained for all people. Captives set free, all people. Oneness with and in God. As François Dutoit says it so well, Jesus the Messiah is introduced to us as Lord and as Son, also as the Word face to face with God from before time was. Then Jesus introduces us to God as Father. He says, I and the Father are one, and if you see me, you have seen the Father. The beauty about this oneness is that the one does not dissolve into the other. Neither the union nor the individual self are compromised. Then, of course, the precious Holy Spirit is in the middle of this divine mix with us all, wrapped up in them. John 16 verse 7. Now listen up, hear me. My departure is not to disadvantage you. Everything that is about to happen brings conclusion and brings together what the prophets pointed to. This will be to your absolute advantage. If I do not go away, your companion cannot come to you. But if I go, I will send to you one to be face to face with you, divining your very being. So John 14 verse 20 says, in that day you will know that we are in seamless union with one another. I am in my Father, you are in me, and I am in you. So open our eyes so we might see.